So in regards to exposure sites and personal close contacts that have been established, our tracing teams have been working, as the Acting Premier indicated, extraordinarily hard since Monday when the first of these cases popped up, building the contact lists and chasing down the different lines of inquiry. And I want to thank our contact tracers for the extraordinary efforts that they've put in and for all the assistance they've got from a growing number of exposure sites. As of last night, the department had identified 301 primary close contacts and with negative tests available so far for 80 of those, with more coming in today. There are a large number of exposure sites linked to some of the cases announced yesterday. Many of them are Tier 1 exposure sites, and of concern are 3 venues attended by a case in Prahran and South Yarra on Saturday night, that being the 22nd, and early Sunday morning. If you were at the following venues and at the following times that night, you are required to get tested and to quarantine for 14 days as a Tier 1 exposure site. Now those sites are 3 Monkeys on Chapel Street, Prahran, between 9:10 p.m. and 11 p.m. The Somewhere Bar on Chapel Street, Prahran, between 10:30 p.m. and 1 a.m. 3 Monkeys again at 12:30 a.m. through to 2 a.m. The Circus Bar on Commercial Road, South Yarra, between 1:30 a.m. and 4:15 a.m. Now those times overlap because the public health team have built in a buffer around the working propositions now of allowing for aerolisation of the virus, so hence the crossover in times. Our team's been working through the night to get this individual's movements right across these locations and ensure that there weren't any others, but all the exposure sites that can be updated have been, but if new evidence comes to light, there will be further updates provided. If you don't know where you were, then you should call the coronavirus contact hotline just to get further reassurance. The best thing is to get, if you're not sure, contact us. Again, we would ask everyone to check the exposure sites as on the website and follow the listed advice relevant to either that Tier 1 or Tier 2 exposure site. In regards to testing, as the Acting Premier indicated yesterday, was a very high level of turnout, understandably, and I want to thank people for turning out in such strong numbers, and I want to thank people for their patience in assisting us in that testing to get that picture of where the virus is in our community. There are now more than 40 sites operating across metropolitan Melbourne with extended operating hours, plus additional testing sites, plus more staff, more infrastructure, more lanes, and more efforts to get people through as quickly as we possibly can. And we look to build on the increase of 30% of capacity yesterday, with further key sites being expanded today. In terms of those key sites, Western Health Showgrounds grew from 2 lanes to 4 lanes yesterday. Northern Health in Epping and Craigieburn increased staffing in response to very high levels of demands out in the north, and 100% of our retail driving staff, driving zones, have increased staffing levels, all by at least 30%, some by significantly more. We've also established 4 new testing sites, and we'll have more to say about those as they are starting to get operationalised. And again, to see where to get tested, please visit www.coronavirus.vic.gov.au. Yesterday, we also saw a record number of calls to our vaccine hotline, and we want to see another record there today. And we've seen very strong numbers of people showing up at those sites where you are eligible just to walk up and get vaccinated, and that has been a strong sign that people have got the message that if you are eligible to be vaccinated, please come forward and get vaccinated at either a participating GP location, of which there are multiple right across the state, certainly across metropolitan Melbourne, or indeed at one of more than our 30 state-run clinics, all of which are located on coronavirus.vic.gov.au. If you are eligible, call the coronavirus hotline and book a time, or just walk up to one of the sites that allow the walk-ups. Getting vaccinated, if you are eligible, is the single most important thing you can do to protect yourself, your loved ones, and the community. So too does QR code checking at venues. So too does checking exposure sites. So too does getting tested if you display even the slightest of symptoms. We also now have an obligation to stick to the additional COVID-safe measures that have been announced by the public health team. Wearing masks indoors, our private gatherings in our homes of no more than 5, and our public gatherings of no more than 30. As the acting Premier has said, if everyone with symptoms comes forward to get tested, with everyone linked to a current exposure site known to us, with everyone following the health advice and with our public health detectives staying on top of the chain of transmission, then we can run this down. It is in the hands of Victorians, but as the acting Premier has said, the next 24 hours are critical, and we'll have more to say about that on the basis of advice following on from the further work of the detectives. But it's in the hands of Victorians. It's up to all of us as a community, and we all need to do our part.